So yeah, the Silent Hill 2 movie is real, and I just discovered they have an IMDB page with a whopping 74 photos from production. You've probably seen some pics floating around, especially Maria's wig. Anyways, I'm obsessed with horror games, so I'm gonna dive into all 74 photos and show you some of the standouts and my thoughts about the movie. The director of the original 2006 Silent Hill movie, Christopher Gans, is coming back for another Silent Hill 2 movie, and honestly, I'm pretty hyped. Kind of. You'll see. And yeah, if you don't know, most people don't like the 2006 Silent Hill movie, but I think it really shined in the beginning when it followed the script more closely. It was towards the end when it kind of deviated on its own path that it really got bad. But those original beginning parts were pretty good. This is Maria, played by Hannah Emily Anderson, if you haven't seen it, and that infamous wig has really sparked some concerns about the film. Like, it is painfully fake. I don't really know. I think the wig's here because either A, this is an element of like the uncanny atmosphere that Silent Hill 2 is known for. You know, the bad acting, the dialogue in the games, if you're not familiar. Even the facial expressions, and like there's just a lot of like uncanny charm to the original games that a lot of people could just chalk up to like, oh, it's just like poorly made game, bad graphics. But a lot of people do think it's intentional, and it really does, intentional or not. I personally think it does add to the uncanny atmosphere of the games.
Very important to me. I'd do anything if I could be with her again.
Me too.
I don't know if the wig is doing that, but that is a possibility. I think it's also the place that she works at could be just really cheap, and that's why she has a cheap wig or something. I don't know, it's definitely intentional, so I don't know, I'm just trying to think of why they would do this. But yeah, I'm really hoping it could just be the uncanny thing, but I don't really see why else it would do that. But yeah, overall, just it's such an interesting casting choice. Alright, now James. Now this is someone I'm surprised I haven't seen more. Maybe I just haven't seen it. But James is played by Jeremy Irvine, and sure, he doesn't have that funny wig, but I mean, look at him. It's a pretty interesting choice. His personality seems very different from the games, and it's pretty concerning for the main character. He just looks so much more emotionally silly. Like, I don't know, James looks like he might crack a one-liner at any moment. At least that's the impression I get. I get that he like has that swag though. But as funny as it is, he's probably my biggest concern for the movie, because when looking through these photos, I did find some set pics of our Eddie, Laura, Angela, and it's just so crazy how bad they mess up with the main characters. Yet these other characters seem a lot better. I don't know, it almost seems intentional. So starting off with what I think is the most interesting side character in the movie, Laura. Laura is played by Evie Templeton, who also played Laura in the Silent Hill 2 remake, and that alone eases my mind for the character portrayal. She even looks like her pretty well compared to the others, but there are some pretty big concerns and differences. First off, she's wearing a dress, and it appears to be some kind of like pajamas, and she wears this throughout the film, or at least a very large period of the time. Because there are a lot of photos with her in this, and it's pretty concerning because in the games she wears long sleeves and overalls, you know, very tomboyish. But here it's a completely different vibe. And on top of that, when looking through the pics, I found a lot of scary photos of Laura with pale makeup, eerie expressions, which could hint at her being dead or some kind of ghost haunting James, which is a completely different tone from the games. In the games, she's very playful, annoying, overall very annoying. It's just her character seems to go in such a completely different direction, and although I have a lot of faith in the actor, it seems that they're going to be deviating from the path pretty hard. Alright, let's get into Eddie. First major thing, Ginger. So Eddie is played by Pierce Egan, who better do that pizza scene very well. It's going to make or break the movie. But, so it appears they seem to be going for this overgrown hair. A little bit of a different vibe, but not too big of a deal. Like I said, there isn't really too much. This is literally the only pic of him. So yeah, solid acting history though. Seems to be in a lot of more comedies. High production stuff though. And also I gotta mention, this is a very European set, if that means anything to you. All that means to me is I don't know these actors, but they seem to be pretty solid. Alright, now for Angela. First impressions, not too bad. Pretty solid pick with Eve Macklin. And it seems that with the body type we're going to be following closer to the original Silent Hill 2, not the remake. The pics are following the story pretty closely actually. I like how the clothes match, and The hair looks pretty good. However, I do have to point out that her pants seem to be very loose, very exaggerated. If you know who the character is, she wears very loose clothing to hide her body. It's actually a pretty big part of the late game and the story. It just seems to be a little, exaggerated. Honestly, I like it when movies exaggerate things, so I think it'll be pretty well. But yeah, I mean, honestly, probably my favorite pick for how close it is to the actress. Alright, let's go into Pyramid Head. Oh yeah, I gotta talk about the icon himself. He looks really sick in this. It's definitely a different design with the weird stitches and textures in the middle of this smooth helmet. I think it looks really great though, and here's a warning to anyone who doesn't want to see his face, because yes, I know some people kind of care about that. So Pyramid Head is played by Robert Strange, which I gotta say, perfect name for the actor. And he has some pretty heavy hits. He's been in Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, just to name a few. And he just seems to be the guy for everything strange. I'm sorry. But yeah, he kills it, and I do have to say, he does pretty well built for the role. Also, side note, it does look like James will be rocking the iconic pocket flashlight, or whatever you want to call it. If you know the term, please let me know. I genuinely don't know. But yeah, the makeup, the suit, everything about Pyramid Head looks to be great, and I think it's going to go pretty well. So this director has shown that he can make a pretty good Silent Hill movie when he follows the story closely, as seen in the 2006 film, because those were definitely the best part of the movie. And with these set photos, I really do think it'll be a good movie as far as story goes, because it follows very closely for a long while, or at least it follows major story beats throughout the film. It all seems very faithful. Even the long walk through the forest is here, and that better take up like a third of the movie. However, I really can't ignore how James or Maria looks. It's the same iconic scenes people want to see, but portrayed in a very different tone with these characters, as the fire scene shows.
Have it your way. It doesn't change anything.
It's hot as hell in here.
So in the games, this is just after seeing the tape, and James is very reserved. The atmosphere is very dark and moody. He isn't exactly going to be running towards her like, oh no, stop. Unless you look at the movie pictures. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's very much more emotional and not in the way you want it to be. It just rubs me the wrong way, but I don't know. It just, it really strikes a completely different vibe, and it's really concerning. I mean, it's the moments, but I don't know if they're going to be done right. But regardless of this, I'm still looking forward to the movie. I'm going to definitely watch it, like, first week probably. But man, I'm concerned. Yeah, I love how the world of Silent Hill looks in here. It really captures the atmosphere, and with the emphasis on the fog and the very identical set. This was also a pretty big highlight of the 2006 movie, which used a lot of makeup and props in a time when CGI and digital was overtaking the movie industry. However, they have the same, if not a smaller budget, which is really interesting. The 2006 film had a $50 million budget, while it's reported Return to Silent Hill, the movie that's going to be releasing, has a budget of $40 million. And it's hard to say with only photos, but I honestly think they really make it work with what they got, set and prop wise. Not all scenes are practical, however, such as this shot of a fleshy area James is crawling through. If you aren't familiar, this is a virtual set, which is like a replacement of green screens. By using these super high definition wall and ceilings, it allows the actors to see what's going on, which immerses them much more, but also makes it easier to deal with reflections. And I think it's such a cool way of filming things, because I can't imagine how boring it would be to be spending all your time in a green room for hours. It just makes it so much cooler for everyone, and it's such a cool thing to see. I just love practical stuff. The monsters, the characters look so well. Like, they have these hordes of nurses that are just patrolling, and the makeup, and it just looks so cool. I love it when they have this stuff. But yeah, if you're more interested in the virtual set, I highly recommend you look more into it. There's a video on YouTube about Mandalorian Season 1 and how they use a lot of that for filming stuff. I recommend, it's pretty cool stuff if you're interested in this or anything like that. Anyways, those are just a quick rundown of all the major things I found. Might as well make a video out of it.